Okay, welcome back. All right, now I'm just gonna have a seat right here. Okay, this is, I don't know if you can see me through that branch. I didn't realize that. There we are. That helps. And I know it's a little cockeyed, but bear in mind, this is the first time I'm really like playing. Well, no, this is maybe like the fifth, sixth little video. Okay, yeah, I see it's finally kind of settling where it should be settling. Okay, let me fix that. Hang on, guys. Might have that branch in the way. Okay. Well, anyways, as you can see, I just have some pine boughs over here. There aren't too many white pine trees around here. I made this little shelter roof with moss. Or I should say, you know, the topsoil. Okay. I just got a little bit of a windbreak here. Not much of one. I'm very tired. What I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to kind of suck it up and spend the night like this. But what I did do was I'm a little prepared. I got a little wood pile here. So as I need to, I can kind of feed my fire right here. So far, all the mosquitoes are gone, and it's because of this little fire. If you notice, it's not a huge fire. You know, you don't need a big fire when you're out in the wilds. Something small and manageable, and this wasp thing still hurts. It feels like somebody hit it with a hammer. You know, so it's very painful. All right. And that's another thing too. I would have made a better shelter, but you'd be surprised when just one thing like a sore thumb can slow you down. So I'm going to tough it out as much as I can, you know, through the night. Now, another bad thing is uh, I don't have too much of a charge on that camera. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to, you know, basically really limit how much I record. I might just actually shut it down and just, you know, spruce up around here a little bit, collect some more firewood, and then call it a night, so to speak, because, you know, it's going to be dark. It doesn't look it, but it's going to be dark in a short period of time. And then the sun comes up around, well, really around 4:45. So it's not that far off. So I'm going to let this burn, you know, I'm going to keep on letting this burn. And I'm going to feed a few twigs here and there. I got some more sticks here and there. If it rains, and I got my hat, but also this roof should be good enough. Notice I say good enough. This, oh, I don't know if you can hear that. It was an owl. He was hooting up on that hill. I chose this location here because it's just in a slight, you know, slight rise, but it's not so bad. If I went in that direction, there's a lot of spruce. I could, you know, have a nice shelter in there and all that, but it's right next to a swamp. And you know what's going to happen. It's going to be, I'm just going to get covered with bugs. Ideally, I'd like to go to the top of the hill there, but I won't. And there's a reason for that. The top of the hill, well, we may be getting thunderstorms overnight from midnight until about 5 a.m. or so. If that's the case, what's going to end up happening is, you know, you increase your chances of a lightning strike if you're at a higher elevation. Not saying you will, but it increases your chances. All right. So I don't want to increase my chances of getting struck by lightning. And a lot of people say, oh, it's not a big deal. Well, I know a guy that got struck, all right, from Texas. So don't say it can't happen. But anyways, like I said, I'm actually kind of beat. and this is as good as a shelter as I'm gonna make. I'm just gonna have to kind of tough it out. I'm gonna have to just kind of like, you know, do my best just to recline here and, you know, just deal with it really, if that makes any sense, you know, because and then a lot of times that is what survival is. You may, you know, like if I was going to stay here for a while, I would spend the extra time to build a good camp. I would build a really good shelter, make it, you know, in fact, I might even look around for a better spot. But um, for the time being, for this little experiment, this is as good as it's going to get. And there are cases where, uh, like in the case of Brian Robeson in Hatchet, and now in the case of the River, where he's with this other guy who's studying his psychology, like what made him survive. He's in a different setting. In that particular setting, one of the things that he's dealing with is that he doesn't have this fire. They built a lean-to, but they got eaten alive. It didn't matter. I could build a really thick one. If I can build one with as thick as my arm, I'll be okay without a fire. But this little fire is going to keep me going for the whole night. Right now, there isn't a single mosquito around, thank God. And it's all because of this little gift of fire. Hello, fire. Anyways, bad joke. So hopefully it won't rain too much. I'm just going to have to kind of cross my legs and kind of relax and sleep as much as I can. I wanted to make more of a bed, but you know, to make a good bed, you need the right kind of branches, and it's just not around here. I need a lot of little pine boughs or you know, spruce tips, and it just doesn't exist here. So I have to deal with what I have. I just made like a little seat out of some of these pine branches just to cushion myself a little bit insulation, not much. And also the earth itself is kind of warmed up. You know, like I wouldn't want to do this in like December. Now there it gets a little bit hairy. So, anyways, with you know, with this particular knife here, which holds up a good edge. You know, Buck has always had a good reputation. I carefully peeled back and I cut strips of this earth and made like a little, almost like roof shingles over my head. Of course, I put some cross pieces. So this is going to be, like I say, good enough. And I did trim some of these branches off with this, and it's still holding up a pretty good edge. But uh, ideally, I'd want a saw or a hatchet to do this type of work. But this here, I mean, without a cutting instrument, life is kind of, it's really hard. I could break branches off with my hand, but, you know, I found out that after this sting, how limited your body can be, even with a minor small injury like this. You know, who would have thought a big wasp sting on the joint of my thumb would slow me down? Now, thankfully, I didn't have a reaction because I kind of monitored myself and made sure that, okay, you know, am I gonna, something bad's gonna happen? You know, can I breathe? And that's something to think about. If you get stung in a wild, what you have to do is immediately, if you can, put it in water and then pack it with mud. The mud can draw out any of the toxins. I didn't do that because we don't have any of that right here, right now. But ideally, if you have that, that's what you should do. That's like some simple bush first aid. So, anyways, what I'm going to do is I'm gonna, you know, kind of feed my fire and contemplate life. It's not a bad idea to go on little trips like this in your life. And I know some of you guys and gals are saying, you're nuts. I know some people, what about wild animals? There really, you know, there's some coyotes, and once in a while a bear comes around, but right now I'm not really worried about it at all. Okay? But again, one of the things to, you know, oh, that's nice and cool. I'll put that in there. Put that in there. you know, sometimes it's not a bad idea to take little overnights out in the wilds to kind of clear your mind. And again, during this time of corona, for lack of a better term, you may not be able to do that. Okay. But generally speaking, getting back to literature, we know about conflict, and I made that comment. Tonight, my conflict is going to be keeping this fire fed. So you could say it's man versus nature. I need to keep this fire fed. Also, because I can fall asleep. You know, I've fallen asleep out in the woods before. It's, you know, for me, it's not a huge deal. But, you know, I'm going to have to keep this fire going. And like I said, I should have made sure I recharged that GoPro because I don't know how much power I have left. I don't want to push my luck, so to speak. So what I'm going to do is, like I said, I think I'm going to kind of like call it a night. I'm just going to kind of like, you know, put my hat on and just chill and kind of get little cat naps here and there, feed the fire, and then hopefully it's not going to rain. There's like about a 40 to 50% chance of it, according to the weatherman. I'm looking at the wind and the sky. The wind and the sky tell me it might rain. There's a good chance of it. So I'm going to do my best to make sure that, you know, I'm as comfortable as possible. And fortunately, it's not going to be cold. It's only going to get down to 66, which is not cold. Anybody says that's cold, you need to see a doctor, okay? If it was 36, now that's a different story. If you get wet and cold in 30 and it's 36 Fahrenheit, that's the recipe for hypothermia. Remember the rule of threes, okay? 3 minutes without, you know, really 3 minutes without air, okay? You know, it's 3 hours without shelter in bad conditions. 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food, and 3 months without hope. In this case here, if this was November, December, and it was 36 or 40 degrees, and it was about to rain, I would make sure I had a really good shelter, because that's equivalent of that 3-hour rule. If I get wet in 3 hours, I'm going to start having some trouble. I better do something about it. But in this case here, the only thing, it's really a minor inconvenience. You know, I just have to deal with making sure that fire keeps on going. You know, it only takes a couple sticks, you know. I'm not going to build a big fire because it's next to a tree. That's foolish. And even if it goes down just to coals, I can put some more wood on it and blow into it, and it'll coax it right back up. So, anyways, I hope you all have a great night. I'm going to try. I thought I heard something. I hear birds. I hear the wind. No, just birds and wind. When you're out in the wilds, just like in the story of the river, Brian changed. You become aware of everything and around your surroundings. Yeah, I smell a damp breeze. I think I'm going to get a little wet, but I should be able to tough it out. Okay? So, all right. On that note, we're going to shut her down.